Okay, thank you very much for being here, everybody. I'm extremely pleased to introduce this event, this short-term mobility. We need a little bit of imagination because we should really be in presence in Granada, which is our host university, for a mobility, for a presence mobility. Well, we all know why we are meeting this way in this last year and a half, a bit more. So with a little bit of imagination, we try to think that we are in Granada. As we were saying, the heat is helping us a lot. And we will be together this morning and tomorrow morning with this event. So I've been asked to introduce briefly Arqus, and in particular Arqus 2.8, which is the container in which we are included. So I will do this with a brief presentation of 5 minutes. And then we will enter in the program of the morning and of the 2 days. So thank you very much. So I'd like to share my screen and go to, okay, I did try to prepare, but not so. So introduction. So I would like to introduce this event.
Good morning.
Good morning to everybody. Good morning, and thank you for being here. So this is a brief introduction to our event. We are in as I said, presenting this 2 days short-term, virtual mobility. What is Arqus? Arqus is a program which includes several universities. We are within one action of Arqus, action line 2, widening access, inclusion, and diversity. And in particular, we are in Arqus action line 2.8, senior universities. This comes from an idea by, sorry, what's happening? Sorry. Yeah, we are. This comes from an idea of Macron, the French president, who started some European alliances. And the Alliance Arqus is one of the first 17 which have been selected in a first call. The idea is to bring together different universities, to bring together some university in order to have an alliance, in order for them to ally and to share some uses and practices, to facilitate interchange, to share their best practices. And our alliance won a position in the first call, gathering 7 universities. As you can read, they are Bergen, Granada, Graz, Leipzig, Lyon, Padua, and Vilnius. So the idea is that we have this kind of, this kind of arch. Arqus is not an acronym for once, it's an arc coming from the Latin, and then the idea of using the Q instead of the C. An Arqus and perhaps a double Arqus, like a rainbow. So the idea is to put together this institution sharing academic and cultural aims, and particularly trying to build some bridges in order to have a better presence for a shared future. And in particular, having this aim, in particular our action, but not only, to include, not to leave anybody out of a possible share activity. Since its inception, the idea is that people are at center, and the idea is to promoting access. Promoting access of people who are less represented at very many levels. And so, for instance, we have different actions that move towards the lifespan, beginning with young kids, trying to include, for instance, girls in mathematics or in STEM or in hard sciences, where they are indeed a bit less present. Or again, recognition for different kind of minor presence universities. We also have a very good track enabling refugees, enabling people who are in danger, and trying to include them or to help them to be included. And again, we have also some counter stereotype or whatever idea. So trying to include the people particularly gifted that somehow sometimes can lose their track. In our case, we are, as I mentioned, in 2.8 action line, seniors universities. So the idea is to try to struggle the age dimension, which sometimes constitute an obstacle to presence. So seniors university means many things. It means many different aspects. And I reckon that these 2 days, these 2 seminars will be quite important to open to clarify these differences. Salvatore, can I ask you please to give the link to Diego Romaioli? He's calling me and he's not.
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much. That's it. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being here in our next steps and for contributing in our next steps towards this common aims. Given this brief introduction, I'd like to enter in the program. The program will see different presentation. You saw the program itself. We start with a brief introduction again, then Maria del Carmen García-Garnica and Blanca, Blanca Delgado will present some very interesting activities they have in Granada, by no chance our leading university. Then we will have Christine Benischke, who will present, so I'm quite interesting and astonishing activity that they have in Graz with Vita, Activa and other activities from that university. And then Vincenzo Pace from Padua University will present some quite strong activity that we have and had for long again in Padua University. And then we will see tomorrow, and tomorrow again we will move to culture and cultural aspects. We will be we will have an interesting visit to Alhambra. As I was saying, this is playing with our imagination, trying to imagine ourselves in Granada as we should be, with an extremely fascinating visit and mathematical visit to Alhambra. But before that, we will also go to Lipsia with an extremely interesting visit in terms of culture, with a program which has been prized, won an award in terms of culture and cultural diffusion. And then we will also have a presentation by Erika Borella from Padua University, looking at cognitive strategies in order to work on aspects which come with age. So again, I share my screen Welcome to everybody. I hope everybody was able to reach our link. And we go to this brief presentation. As I said, we were thinking of 20 minutes. So the age dimension in an aging society. I myself am a social psychology as well as Diego Romaioli. Welcome, Diego. And we would like to speak as social psychologists, but also as part of this interesting group we are now involved in. So let's again go to the presentation. Our world is aging. We know that. Our world is aging and everybody's speaking about the aging society, the effects that this aging will have in our life. Our world is aging, and in particular, Europe is aging. And what was now, some time ago and up to now, called the pyramid of age, la piramide dell'età, which statisticians helped us to know, with a lot of young people and less young adults and lonely adults, so changed dramatically. And here we have a picture of what is the case, what was the case in 2016, something like a jar, and what could be the case in terms of estimates, prediction. Well, we know that forecasts are always difficult, but we have quite a chance that in 280, it will really become a cylinder more than a pyramid, as it was called. So, I don't know why it's on. Okay, it doesn't want to go on. So, you excuse me. Okay. So if we look at our 7 countries, this is the case. If we look at Europe, the European Union, 28 here, up on my left, and if you look at our 7 countries, we really see a common trend, more common in some countries, less in others. As you probably know, Italy and Germany are the countries which are aging more quickly and more dramatically. And you really see the jar there, Italy and Germany. Less so in France and in Norway, where still there are more young people. And I have to say that these hard facts reflect a bit on our work, because very often our colleagues from France and Norway say, well, this is not a big problem. We don't have so many senior students around and so and so. But we will see these aspects, and in particular, Carmen and Blanca, our colleagues from Granada, will speak about that, so I skip it now. I just remind that the percentage and the estimate of population over 60 in the world, and in particular in Europe, has grown and is expected to grow quite dramatically all over, apart from Africa. And clearly, we hope that this gap will also change in a positive way. So this is the situation. As social psychologists, Diego and myself reflect on this paradox. The world population is aging. Life expectancy increased and is increasing in good health for many years, not in the very last years, we accept, but in good health for many years. And this has been only partially decelerated by COVID-19. I thank Matteo Bellanova, who also helped to find out some of the previous pictures. And he really has a very nice statistics showing that, yeah, this year and a half has been dramatic and decelerate also our life expectancy in Italy by 1 year, but not enough to change the general trend. We have not time to see it, but this is good news in a way. At least it is good news for people It's probably less good news for societies who still keep on speaking about costs and problems. So the world population is aging, life expectancy in good health increased, but paradoxically, a negative view, a negative social representation, as we say, a negative everyday knowledge of aging persists, with aging as time of decline, of costs, of problem. And this prevents potential self-fulfillment of people who could really have some better lives. So contribution from psychology, sociology, and social policy, where psychologists have been working a lot on successful aging, looking for cognitive strategies and ways of facing, reducing, challenging this decline. And tomorrow, Erica Borella will speak about that at length. And more generally, we speak about looking for positive aging, working out together and considering in their dual relation the different aspects, not only positive mental states, but also physical well-being, but also relational resources, which apparently is very important in a long life and particularly in old age. And active participation. So participation actively in life, in social life, in political life as well. This has been suggested and fostered very strongly from the World Health Organization, that already at the beginning of this millennium start out a big project, active aging. This is policy, social policy, and active aging has been implemented with politics, with funds, with ideas, with protocols at an international level, a national level, a regional level. And the idea is that to challenge costs at a personal and social level, we have to live actively. Actively, not only in terms of physical activity, also, but particularly in terms of on different grounds. They spoke about these 6 petals, considering economic determinants, social determinants, physical determinants, personal determinants, relational and behavioral, and also health and social services. And from there, a lot of interesting activities start. I would like to mention just one in 2014. Age-friendly cities and communities. Again, funding places which are friendly to age-related problems in the city, in the community. But I'm very proud in saying that psychological aspects entered at long last also in the political arena. For instance, Laura Carstensen, who is a psychologist, a social psychologist, wrote some lines. This is not more Europe, this is a world-like level, US Senate, wrote these lines saying that the large increase in the numbers of people making it into their 80s and more is generating a profound mismatch between cultural norms that guides our lives and length of our lives. And the idea that humans are creatures of culture is very strong. We look at culture to tell us when and how to get education, to get a family, to get a work, or to retire. But if life expectancy has changed so much, we should change the kind of designs which have been provided to us. And again, she noticed already 10 years ago that if the numbers change as we saw, that will transform the global community. And now this is given with some change. I say forecast are never sure, but if this is the case, changes will be there, and change could be good or could be bad. So clearly we are working in terms of finding out the best of these change that are going on. So I said social psychology. We are also very much in touch with sociology, and we will have also a professor of sociology, Enzo Pace. But I would like also to mention here some work by Chris Phillipson, who is a sociologist from Manchester, who wrote this wonderful book, Aging, trying to, inviting us to rethink and to reconstruct our ideas of aging. He found what he together with others, what we know as critical gerontology. And among the main challenges when we want to rethink or reconstruct aging, in his view, and not only in his, is to work on higher education. And here we are, long life learning and higher education. And so working on this line together with Diego and other colleagues in recent years, we studied this issue through some research questions, such as how is aging seen at the societal level and how we could change this view, which differences between young, adult and elderly people, how is it possible to enhance feature in a counter trend, no more decline, but sustaining views of aging well. So we worked a bit with a small research. We are privileged to have the chance of interviewing some mature students from the University of Padua, some students over 60 and a bit more. How many students are there in our universities? It's a lot. We, first of all, looked for statistics, and Salvatore provided us with the statistics, thanks. And we found, for instance, that we have students a bit out from their usual, normal, statistically speaking, age range. So we have quite a few students in their 30 and 40, but also in their 40, as you can see, and in their late 40 and 50. And we also have students in their 60, in their 70s, and in their 80s. And we had this wonderful chance to speak with some of them. And I would like to give the floor to Diego in order to tell us a bit about.
Okay, thank you so much. Just a few words to one of our later studies on major students. And our team is studying how people challenge the dominant view of aging as decline and the idea of being too old to engage in various types of activity. As Alberta said, the premise of our research is that the way we experience reality depends on how we talk about it. So aging can be constructed as a bound or as a resource, depending on the social discourses that become available in certain contexts. And for this reason, it's really important to us to expand these discourses and seeking for narratives that may favor positive ways of aging. The study I'm going to briefly discuss with you aim to explore life stories in order to identify the cultural resources that help some mature students to start studying in older age. And in particular, we wanted to shed light on the motives, values, self-images, and the way they succeed in challenging the common idea that studying is just for young people. We collected 25 interviews with older people enrolled at the University of Padua, and the age of our participants range between 55 to 78 years old. And we conducted structural narrative analysis, which is a particular way of dealing with texts. And main results show some key factors which are considered important in resisting ageism from the participants' perspectives. For instance, they share the common value of the cultural engagement, and they remark the role of relationships in sustaining their effort to study, and they often construct themselves as smart persons. Many respondents also stress the need of intergenerational experiences, and somehow they feel uncomfortable in contexts just for older people. And for this reason, the University of the Third Age was not considered a real choice for them.
Oh, we can't hear you. Can you follow?
There is a problem with the.
We lost him.
Yeah. There is a problem. Let's see whether Diego is able to come out. Otherwise, will. Okay, so you understood in the meanwhile, while Diego is coming back, I keep the floor. So what was interesting that we found wide reference to what we said before, to the social agenda. So, so often people said, well, I'm in a peculiar situation. I came back to study, but feeling themselves a bit an exception to the rule, which up to a certain point is the case. Because as we saw in terms of statistics, there are not very many, they are not very frequent. But there were this very strong positive effect, showing that they were really living their life in a more, in a richer and fuller way. The three narratives about which we spoke had different effects. It is particularly the third one which really expanded the benefits. The benefits in which way? In the way of opening up an idea of being extendable. Having less the idea that it's a solo effect, as in some part came out with the heroic narrative. It's not that people were endorsing a single narrative. They spoke about this in different ways, just saying that it was something like an heroic effort to come back to university after all these times, after having had some stops for life reasons in the time, or coming back to study in order to heal some vulnerability, some threats, some sufferance. But the idea is, in any case, that this has been of help, and this has been more than of help. It has been really enriching life. So clearly, in our inquiry, we listen to these narratives and also tried to help to generate these narratives, because, as Diego has said very well before, we, from our perspective, strongly take it that social aspects are not there in reality outside, but are very much constructed but by our way, our societal way of speaking about, of seeing, of considering situation. So we auspicate for further research in this direction, in this approach and in others. So if Chris Phillipson chose a tree to represent aging, we would like to choose this, a picture like this or others, a beautiful picture of many trees in their full life together, but also with the right distance, the one between and among the other. And if somebody is interested in our research, here are some references, including one which is in press, focusing on this resisting ageism through lifelong learning. Okay, so thank you very much for listening. Now we have a couple of minutes. Thank you, Diego, for coming back. I'm sorry.
Yes, I think I have some problem with my Wi-Fi. I don't know at what time I go out to the meeting.
No, it was just before conclusion. So I hope you like. I took up the conclusion and I closed the presentation. Okay. So, but you had already discussed the results and illustrated the results. Thank you. So we have now time for one question, a couple of minutes, while we agreed with Maria Carmen and all the organizers that a more thorough discussion will be at the end of the morning. So if there is a single question or clarification or comment, it's very much welcome. If not, thank you again for your attention, and I'll give the floor to Christine Benischke. No, sorry. Sorry. I will give the floor to Maria del Carmen García-Garnica and Blanca Delgado. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alberta. We are going to share our screen as well. Okay. I think you are now watching the screen clearly. So good morning, everyone. My name is Blanca Delgado, and jointly with my colleague Maria Carmen García-Garnica, we are going to present the possible role of European universities in fostering age inclusion. Particularly, we will focus on how universities can empower senior students through lifelong learning opportunities. Maria Carmen García-Garnica is a full professor at the School of Law and also chair of the permanent classroom of open training at the University of Granada. So first of all, on behalf of Maria Carmen and myself, we would like to thank the organizers for their invitation to be here today. And we have structured our presentation into two parts. Oops. The first part that I'll be presenting deals with the impact of demographic change in Europe and what are the educational policy actions that are being fostered to tackle it. This first part will revolve around three main topics. The first one is to calibrate the impact caused by the demographic change in Europe that was partially anticipated by Alberta and Diego's presentation. Then we will move to see a quick overview of the main policy actions undertaken that are directly or indirectly related to senior education. And finally, to conclude, we'll explore what the role of the European universities should be in this context. Then the second part that will be presented by my colleague Maria Carmen will revolve around the specific initiative carried out at the University of Granada, namely the permanent classroom of open training. So starting with the impact of the demographic change in Europe, we have taken some data published by Eurostat some few months ago. In this figure, you can see the median age of the European Union 27 population from 2001 till 2070. The median age, just a quick reminder, is a broad measure of how old a population is. So half the population is older than the median age, while the other half is younger. We can clearly observe something we already know, that Europe's population is getting older. It is estimated that by 2060, 1 in 3 Europeans will be over 65. The median age of the EU 27 population has been increasing for years and is projected to increase at a similar pace for another 2 decades. The median age, indeed, may reach 49 in 2070, up around 5 years from today. This is not bad news, but rather the opposite, extremely good news. But it also raises the question how best to manage this good news in terms of inclusive aging. Let's have a closer look now at the population by age groups during the same period. We can see that our median age increases, so does the number and share of people in the older age groups. We can observe that by 2070, 30% of people in Europe are estimated to be aged 65 and above, which means up from about 20% today. At the same time, the working age population, those aged between 20 and 64 years, is projected to decrease. And the number of children and young people, those aged between 0 and 19, is projected to decrease by 12.6 million. So we agree that living longer in better health is one of the highest expectations of European citizens, but also brings challenges and opportunities. Integral to all this is addressing the social determinants of healthy aging, such as improving access to lifelong learning, removing barriers to retaining and hiring older workers, and limiting the impact of job loss and poverty. Age-friendly urban and rural environments can enable older people with a wide range of capacities to age safely where they want to be protected, to continue to develop personally and professionally, to be included and to participate and contribute to their communities while retaining their autonomy, dignity, health, and well-being. Despite the many contributions of older people to society and the wide diversity, negative attitudes about older people are common across societies and are seldom challenged. For example, stereotyping, how we think, prejudice, how we feel, and discrimination, how we act towards people on their basis of their age, ageism, affects people of all ages, but has particularly deleterious effects on the health and well-being of older people. Recently, the United Nations declared the decade of healthy aging to that between 2021 and 2030. This is a global collaboration aligned with the last 10 years of the Sustainable Development Goals that brings together governments, civil society, international agencies, professionals, academia, the media, and the private sector to improve the lives of older people, their families, and their communities, the communities in which they live. Within that decade of healthy aging, the lifelong learning has been highlighted as one of the main items to be cared of. Let's move now to the policy actions. We would like to highlight 4 main documents that are being undertaken right now and that deals directly or indirectly with senior student education. The first one is the Green Paper on Aging, published this year, which stresses that lifelong learning, which is investing in people's knowledge, skills, and competencies throughout their lives, form parts of the response to the challenges of aging. Why? Because continued learning can also help to delay the onset of dementia and prevent cognitive decline related to old age. It is also a way for older people to play an active role in society. And there is a large potential for developing the skills of older people, as well as to improve how they are validated and how career guidance is made available. The second document is the Pillar of Social Rights, more specifically the action plan also published this year. Here, the Commission proposes 3 European Union headline targets to be achieved by the end of the decade in the areas of employment, skills, and social protection, consistent with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The 20 principles of the European Pillar of Social Rights are the beacon guiding us toward a strong social Europe and set the vision for our new social rulebooks. They express principles and rights essential for fair and well-functioning labor markets and welfare system in the 21st century. The third document is the European Skills Agenda, the updated one, published last year. This is a 5-year program or plan to help individuals and businesses develop more and better skills and put them into use by 3 tools. First, strengthening sustainable competitiveness as set out in the European Green Deal. Second, ensuring social fairness, putting into practice the first principle of the European Pillar of Social Rights, access to education, training, and lifelong learning for everybody, everywhere in the European Union. And finally, by building resilience to react to crisis, based on the lessons learned during the COVID-19 pandemic. To succeed, lifelong learning for all must become a reality in Europe, in each member state and in each region, so that the Commission proposes to set quantitative objectives based on existing indicators to be monitored by 2025. We need to, first of all, increase significantly the share of adults participating in learning overall, because only this guarantees a lifelong learning approach. In addition, with a view of making sure that the recovery and the transitions are socially fair, the Commission also proposes distinct objectives on the participation in learning of low qualified adults and the unemployed that are highlighted in the slides. Finally, we would like to mention the European Agenda for Adult Learning. which is a vision of how adult learning should develop in Europe, and to that it sets the several specific priorities mentioned in the slide. And within this agenda, there is a working group specifically on adult learning, which discusses policy options for developing modern adult learning systems that support the continuous upskilling and reskilling of individuals necessary to thrive on today's labor market and in society. Let's go now to our last point of this first part of the presentation, which is the role of universities. Obviously, in this context, universities should be an active actor through two main tools: lifelong learning opportunities and through autonomous learning. We will focus specifically in this presentation on the first one. But what do we mean by senior students? Alberta also pointed out that it is not a clear definition of what a senior or what she called mature student is. So here in the slide, you can see that Carmen will dig into more detail into this, that we have in Granada some experience for those students over 25 years, over 45, or over 40, with different profiles. So now I give the floor to my colleague, Carmen, because she's going to explain the specific initiative we have implemented at the University of Granada, and it's being quite successful for senior students.
Thank you very much, Blanca. I'm going to share my screen. I think you see it. Just a moment to. Oh, sorry, it has started from the beginning. Well, in our virtual mobility, we are now to travel to Granada. Well, I'm going to present what we do for specifically for senior students in Granada. We have a center specifically dedicated to them. It is called the Permanent Classroom of Open Training. If you, onwards, I'm going to call by the acronym, the Spanish acronym APFA, to simplify. This center was born in 1993. It was by chance that this was this year, the beginning, but because it was the European year for older people and solidarity between generations. Therefore, it already has 27 years of existence, with an increasing number of students per year, and a stronger reason for being due to the demographic reasons that we have been learned before. Our permanent classroom offers a university program specifically curious, eager to learn, and eager to continue growing intellectually and personally, regardless of their previous academic or professional background. Those are the only requirements to get enrolled in our program. There is no entrance exams, there is no limit of permanence, and we have a scholarship program to avoid the economic aspect to be a problem for some of them to access to it. As a university center, we do what the university center do. We teach, we research, and we make service to the society. The main difference to other centers is that our teaching is not focuses. We also offer that opportunity from another centers of the university. Here we offer, and nowadays all the Spanish public universities, a multidisciplinary training specifically aimed at promoting active and participatory aging in order to contribute to a healthy aging and to improve the quality of life of people as they age. We strongly try to promote the holistic well-being of older people. We try to break down divides in their different kinds, cultural, digital, generational, and also economic. We try to avoid social exclusion and mainly isolation of older people through face-to-face classes and activities, and by encouraging associations of senior students. We strongly try to make older people and their abilities visible. As the University of Granada itself, we have headquarters on 6 places in 2 continents, in the south of Europe and also in the north of Africa. Thus, because we are not only in the center of the city, but also in some villages, because another of our main goals is to reach both high qualified and low qualified adults. In some, our goals, I think, match very well with the ones recently posed by the European Union on its Social Rights Action Plan 21-21 for 2021 to 2030 that Blanca has commented. Proudly, we can say that our work has received several awards. For example, recently by the regional government, by the city council, or more recently for the social council. What about our students, the profile of our students? The profile of our students is very varied and evolving, and this is a real challenge for lecturers. It's varied in terms of age because we have students from 50 to 99. It's sociologically varied because we have people with or without work, with or without family responsibilities, with or without social isolation. We have people culturally very varied, with or without previous higher education or not. Also, people very varied in terms of their abilities, people with sensory, cognitive, or physical impairments, together with people in really great, better than me, really great physical and mental shape. And predominantly female, although we observe that we are reaching a balance. You know what? And what they, from our experience, what do we think our students do not want? They try to avoid ageism. That's the age discrimination. They don't want age prejudice. They want to break this prejudice links to age. They also don't want mere welfare provisions for elder people. They don't want to be treated as children or to be infantilized. They don't want to feel like a burden of passive subjects of the society of their families. They want face-to-face activities. The human and social component is key in this kind of programs. Many want to alleviate loneliness or emptiness that is very a great burden in these ages. Usually. They want to broaden their training. They want to have more knowledge. They want to feel active and useful. They want to improve their self-esteem. They want to give back their life experience. They have a lot to share and to teach us from their experience. They want to re-elaborate their life project in this moment where their lives change in work, change in family, and they want to re-elaborate their life projects for that. They want a different kind of leisure, increasingly linked to culture. And also they want to be active, to receive active and participative teaching methodologies, and also repeat, and not because they are bad students, but because they like a lot what we do here. Here I have several samples of this active participation of our students in what we do. For example, in our art studio or in our theater studio where we work with the cognitive abilities. No, we try to develop and to maintain them through the art, through the theater, for example, through the chorus. Here we have an example of session online during the pandemic. They have broken the digital divide and has followed the program by digital classes. They have participated as in main person, making character, giving, teaching us by webinars, for example. And they are involved in research projects. They are researching. No, we are researching over older people. The older people, our senior students, are involved in research projects. Studies reveal that what we do, the universities do in this kind of programs, really works, really is fruitful. It improves cognitive and performance skills of senior students. They improve these programs, they improve self-esteem of their students, decrease loneliness, with all the things linked to it, improve health and general well-being of senior students, and improve objective and subjective quality of life. And this is our experience. If you want to know more about us, we can see in our website. And also it's very interesting to read the testimonies of our teachers and students collected in the proceeding book of our 25th anniversary. That is also open in our website. And also, if you want to have a more general idea of what we do in Spain, here is the website of the State Association of University Programs for Seniors. And thank you very much for your attention. If you want to ask something, as we have a couple of minutes. If not, as Alberta has told before, we will have a short break. And then after the last speech or last presentation, we have a time for discussion.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Maria del Carmen and Blanca. Can we have the program? Salvatore said that Marina could project it.
Yes, in fact, do you also already see my presentation? Because I have this, I'm sharing a screen already.
Oh,
no?
wonderful,
here,
wonderful. Yeah.
Here, I have put here, sorry.
Okay,
let's
thank
to
you.
the end.
Thank you.
Yeah, here.
So thank you.
Here we have.
Okay, so we
are in this point. We are in in this point.
Okay, we are perfectly in time. So again, if somebody has some question now, it's welcome. Otherwise, what do you think, Maria Blanca? We could probably have a small break and see in 10 minutes.
Yes,
okay?
Yes, maybe we can probably have the break, and then if some questions are still pending, there is going to be an interesting debate at the end of the session. So,
thank you. Okay, thank you very much. So see you at 11:05.
Perfect.
Thank you.
okay.
Okay. So thanks again. Thanks again for being here. As we saw 1 minute ago, there was the whole program. We now introduce Christine Benischke. Eccolo qua, grazie. Thank you very much again. We have Christine Benischke from the University of Graz, speaking about university meets community, Vita Activa. Thanks.
Yeah, Thank you very much, and once more, a warm welcome to all here. I want to introduce myself. I have been a senior student and studied psychology at the University of Graz from 1996 to 2002, and I must emphasize that under the many good experiences I've made, it was the excellent communication and collaboration with the younger students. It was really very, very nice. And after my study, I organized the interdisciplinary course for gerontology at the University of Graz from 2003 to 2009. And afterwards, since then, I am I play different roles at the Center of Continuing Education as participant, as freelancer, as volunteer. So I'm getting, I think I'm getting a part of the institution. Now, let's start my presentation. Yes, as you can see, I have added also the Montagsakademie, because it's a program very similar to the Vita Activa. Both programs are from the Center of Continuing Education. And next slide, please. Barbara, at the beginning, I want to give you a short overview, starting with the Center of Continuing Education. And
so sorry.
And then about the Montagsakademie, the Academy on Mondays, and then in more detail, the program of the Vita Activa. And at the end, with a summary with all the guidelines of the education program. And yes, that's it. Let's start with the Center of Continuing Education. Next slide, please. The center is in the responsibility of the Vice Rector for Studies and Teaching, and the center's role in this project partner in lifelong learning is to develop and test innovative programs and learning environments in different areas of university continuing education. For example, as mentioned before, the Academy on Monday and the Vita Activa. And both these programs were awarded by the Austrian Federal Ministry of Labor, Social Affairs and Consumer Protection as good practice models of educational work with older people. Director is Andrea Waxenegger, and the academic coordinator for continuing education and lifelong learning is Markus Ludescher. Now to the Academy on Monday, some points. The lectures are open to everyone. Registration is not necessary, and the attendance is free of charge. Each year, there's a key theme ranging from economics to social sciences to art and culture. The lectures take place in the Assembly Hall of the University of Graz on 7 p.m. on 12 Mondays during the academic year. And there's a broadcast live to partner institutions throughout Styria and other Austrian provinces, and the attendees are able to take an active part in the discussion afterwards. There are organized open meeting points for these attendees, and there's a moderator who collects the questions, and then these questions are answered by the lecturer in Graz. And there's also a streamed version of the lectures available on the, for viewing on the internet. And now a little bit more detail. The program was of the Vita Activa. It was initiated in 2005 by the Center for Continuing Education and cooperation with the Ministry of Social Affairs and the Ministry of Science. And since then, the program is continuously developed in cooperation with geographical researchers, cooperation partners, and participants. And Vita Activa promotes the social participation of older people through university education, especially from the perspective of intergenerational solidarity and intergenerational learning. The program establishes a link between the educational requirements of the university and the interests of participants and includes them in the program development. The target group of the Vita Activa, Vita Activa addresses adults of all ages, and in particular those individuals who have not been to university and who are not interested in pursuing a degree program, but who do want to explore the world of knowledge and research. And the program has been conceived as an open learning opportunity, especially for women and men in the second half of life who actively seek their own learning, want to lead their lives in a self-determined way, and want to exchange their knowledge and experience with subsequent generations. The content of the program is based on current research. Only lecturers who are familiar with the state of research in the respective field of research are invited, and there's a wide range of topics in areas of research, for example, humanities, social sciences, natural sciences, technology. And the learning opportunities are implemented in form of lectures, lecture series, or workshops, or working groups. And there are three learning objectives. Number one, generating knowledge. The complexity of scientific and technological advances necessitates guidance and participation. Today's knowledge society needs citizens that can interact with experts so that democratic principles can be upheld. Number two is transferring knowledge and experience. In Austria, average life expectancy is 79 for men, respectively 84 for women. Yes. So there is a need for my generation to fill the gained years with meaningful activity. People need to be enabled to discover their own strength and communicate their knowledge to younger generations in order to ensure that it can be incorporated in societal development. And last but not least, creating effective learning. In order to be able to generate and disseminate knowledge, people need basic competencies and skills, including learning skills. There's always a workshop, Restart Learning, and this workshop is always very intergenerational because there are younger and older students mixed. The program consists of 13 to 14 courses with a total of about 150 teaching units, which are made up of 22 to 23 single modules. And now I want to give you a personal impression. As I said, I am also a participant from a workshop I really very much appreciated. It is called How to Interpret Works of Art. Objective of this workshop is to present the art of a special epoch embedded in cultural history and in a broader sense. It consists of 24 teaching units on 2 weekends and is part of every study year. In the first part, lectures and exercises with discussions take place to enlarge the knowledge of about the particular epoch or artist. And the participants are then offered a variety of pictures of artworks, and they can choose one for presenting a description in the second part of the workshop 2 weeks later. These short presentations can be made individually or in a small group of 2 or 3 persons, and are then commented by the lecturer and discussed in group. And the benefit I see in this workshop is not only enlarging knowledge of the special epoch or artist, but also gaining experience by self-organized learning, teamwork, the presentation of the prepared elaboration to the group, and the transfer to everyday life. My habit to visiting art exhibitions has changed since then, and I'm appreciating art more and more. So some words to the accessibility and the registration. The lectures are open to everyone, and registration is necessary because of limited places depending on the form, if it's a lecture or a workshop. This is a difference to the Montags Academy, where there's no registration necessary. The lectures can be attended by up to 40 persons, and workshops up to 15 persons, thus creating an atmosphere where learning within the group is promoted. And the attendance for the lectures is free of charge. For workshops, there's a fee of 30 to 35 euros, depending if 1 or 2 weekends, and a price reduction under certain circumstances is possible. Yes, and now to sum up the quality criteria, that there's a paper where where these criteria are described in 11 points. First, the academic general education must be based on current research. An open access must be possible, and a low threshold access must be ensured. And the program must be developed in a research-led manner, and the didactic model must be committed to quality standards of the university, teaching and learning, and issues of aging and intergenerational relations must form an integral part of the program. There are always some lectures with this topic. And the program must establish a link between the educational requirements of the university and the interests of the participants, and include them in the program development. This is mainly through evaluation forms that are given after each session, where the participants can deposit their wishes for topics they want to have. Self-directed, temporally flexible development of learning over a longer period time must be possible. this is that certain series of workshops, how, for example, this workshop on art are in the program every year, so they you can better form your knowledge. There must be sufficient provision of accompanying information and counseling. There is an information point every time when lectures take place, or you can directly have or by a telephone call or other possibilities. The personal income situation must not exclude participation. As I mentioned before, our price reductions are under certain circumstances are possible, and the ability to participate in shaping society must be promoted. This is that sometimes participants get more knowledge on topics they need for the voluntary work or voluntary engagement. So I think I thank you very much for your attention, and thank you, Barbara, for having the presentation for me, because I had some difficulties. And if there are further questions, I hope to be able to give you an answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there a question, a comment already now?
Yes, one question. Ronald Gläser from the University of Leipzig is speaking. Christina, one question regarding your Monday Academy. How many participants do you have per session? Because it's free of charge, you must be...
Yes, the assembly hall in the Graz Aula is quite big, so there can be, I think, 200 or so persons. Okay. And then I cannot give you the exact number because there are, at the moment, I think there are 11 stations where it is broadcasted, and there the amount of people that are discussing and on these local stations, I don't know exactly, but okay. It's a big number.
Yes, oh, we have the same here in Leipzig. Well, if we can use the aula and have the participants around about 200 or 300 people, but online we have around about 20 or 20 to 30, yeah. And also, but in Leipzig it's not free of charge, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we give the floor to Professor Vincenzo Pace from Padua University, who will speak about Formazione, Progetto, Continua. So okay. Please, you have the floor.
Good morning. Just a short introduction. I'm a former professor of sociology at the University of Padua, but I was involved in this project only 2 years ago, just after my retirement. In this sense, I'm playing this contemporary role of other people involved a lifelong learning project, and of course I was in the university, so I know the machinery of our university and the relationship between this university and the city of Padua. I would like to share my presentation. Okay. Yes. Just to provide you very basic information about the relationship between this Progetto Formazione Continua, lifelong learning project, and the city of Padua and the University of Padua. I would like to remind that Padua is, how to say, a medium-sized city in Italy. You know, except Naples, Rome, and Milano, the urbanistic development of our country has been marked by a medium-sized city. Padua now has around 200,000 inhabitants, but it's important to remind that this big university has now more or less 60,000 students. So it's a small city within a city. And for many years, the problem of our city was to build a bridge between these two cities, the big city and the small city of the university. So in this sense, this project was the first attempt to create a bridge between the city of Padua and the University of Padua, to transfer some knowledge cultivated in the academic rooms into the social life of the city. My idea is to present this experience using a narrative method in order to recall the main features, characteristics of this project, and second, to report some experiences made by selecting those that seems to me more pertinent, more relevant to the issues of our meeting, in particular focusing on the so-called third mission of the university and on the relationship between generations. This is the logos of our association, Progetto Formazione Continua. Now is a, how to say, voluntary private association that promoting culture in the city, but the background of this association was for 10 years since the beginning of the foundation in 1987, institutions or program, cultural program within the University of Padua. This training experience, born in 1987, was actually promoted by a professor of sociology at the Faculty of Political Science, in accordance with the rectors, in accordance with the academic authority, and it's important to stress this information, with a financial support by the university. In the small photo below, you can see the inauguration of the first course in the presence of the rector's delegate, the former is the professor of sociology who started with this project. He was president of this association until 2019. He died 2 years ago. and there was also the counselor for social service of the municipality of Padua. In other words, at the beginning, the project was a sort of bridge between University of Padua and local municipality in order to promote a social cultural services for the city, targeting particularly the elderly people. In this moment in 1987, perhaps the local authority didn't realize the development of demographic structure of the Padua city, but now Padua city, the average of age of Padua in Padua is around 50, and it means people over 65 until 79 age is 26% of population, then plus people over 80 until 99 are 10%. You can perceive that actually 45% of population is represent the older people of this town. Fortunately, the presence of the so huge number of students from the university represent a lively social fabric of the city. Of course, the effect on the economic benefits of the city is clear. So, in the beginning, this project was coherent with so-called third mission of the university, projected toward the so-called the learning society, because it was the idea of the professor of sociology, Renzo Scortegagna, who founded this association. But it was not an association at the beginning. It became an association when Padua University decided to stop with financial support. And the professor of Scortegagna, who was the leader of this project, decided to create a private association. They of course, they introduced a membership fee, annual membership fee, a little contribution for the member. And in this way, he was able to create a new sources of financing. We have a structural little financial contribution by the bank foundation, local bank foundation. Sometimes we have some other supports, material support. For instance, Padua University provides free of loan rooms, aula, equipment, and so on. And on the other hand, also we have this, how to say, small financial support by the municipality. And this the third mission, the idea was to disseminate the knowledge produced in the academic field in the learning society. In this experience, it's a small experience. We have 100 members. They participate actively to the package of courses we organize from October to June with an average of 2 thematic units each month that cover many cultural aspects, from science to arts, from geopolitics to religions, to music, literature, theater, and we try to, at least for 5 or 6 each units, to link these courses to external cultural events that in Padua occurs during the year. For exhibition now, for instance, now there was an exhibition on Van Gogh, and we try to organize a cycle of conference in order to illustrate the itinerary of this extraordinary venture. And then we organize a virtual visit, of course, of the exhibition, because it was impossible to visit physically the room of the exhibition and so on. Or we try to exploit some cultural event that occurs between Venice and Padua. We have many chances to stimulate people to understand much better the extraordinary cultural heritage we have. That this cultural heritage is not a sort of external gift from God, but it's part of everyday life experience of people. And then in this sense, we organize some courses in order to rediscover the impact of the arts on the history of political, cultural identity of the city. In this sense, involving in this itinerary the biography of the people. So, in this sense, at the beginning, there was a formal agreement between this lifelong learning project, academic authority and city authority, with some practical consequences. That, in spite of the change occurred 10 years after 10 years from the foundation, when of course this project became a private, voluntary initiative of a group of former member of the former scholar of university, but the core of the initiative was always the same: to bridge bridging two entities, university and the city. Now we are discussing. We are reaching the 40th anniversary of the foundation. We are discussing about this relatively long experience of lifelong training, because since the beginning, of course, this project has not been conceived as an after-war club where older people pleasantly feel the time freed from the routine of work commitments. Because the main goal was that people learn throughout their lives in context. In the context of an institution of high culture, the university, in the context of a society, the city, with all its wealth of cultural offering. But in this sense, this is our reflection in this moment of the life of the association, coping with some practical trouble, because some people who organize the activity are how to say, a little bit tired, and then we need a turnover of people. But in any case, the reflection is what's the pattern of this lifelong learning? Substantially, it's a vertical model. No? We try to mobilize professors from various disciplines from the University of Padua or Venice to, to spread basic information, to spread the knowledge accumulated in science or geopolitics or theater, art, and so on. But the model is a classical asymmetrical model, reproducing the division of education labor between those who know and actively transmit knowledge and those who receive it more or less passively. At most in a co-training situation, sometimes we try to organize, like in Graz, some laboratory, some little group that interact without authoritarian presence of a professor or expert and so on. But it was an exception. And we try to reflect on this new idea that is circulating in the European Union. There are some important documents, both Blanca, both Mary, Carmen recalled this document. It probably for us is to now try to integrate vertical model that is, of course, is an important step for many people to restart with the how to say, to implement their level of knowledge, information, so on, to integrate this vertical model with horizontal, lifelong, wide learning pattern. The idea is, we try to experiment this idea next year, of course, hoping that it's possible to face-to-face interaction, because by Zoom or by other long distance communication is impossible. To propose some laboratory workshop in which people will be invited to learn from the various personal life experience, socialize them, and drawing from them a concrete knowledge that integrates the abstract one beyond the areas and place where it occurs formal learning. Just to give an idea, an example, this year we organized a very long cycle of didactic units on the city of Padua during the 14th century, the century of Giotto, but not only Giotto. It's a project of the municipality to illustrate to present its candidature for the UNESCO recognition. That the city of Padua is how to say, an open air collection of frescoes. Of course, with the Giotto is the most important and well known all over the world, but there are other frescoes that illustrate the story of not only the cultural heritage of Padua, but also the story of the political structure of Padua when Padua moved from the rural pivotal city to a new bourgeoisie town with a new social classes, a new investment in industrial or proto-industrial or proto-capitalist industry and so on. So in this moment, when we move from this classical vertical model, we invite many experts. We invited the councillor of the city that is a specialist on this topic. We organize a visit with him and so on. But at the same time, I realized in this moment that many people, particularly during the visit, try to recollect his personal emotional experience with the place they are visiting. In this sense, my idea is to use this kind of didactic strategy to stimulate people not only to receive passively new information, new culture, but also to react and to find out interaction between this information from above to personal biography. It's a challenge, but it's a perspective I would like to explore next year. In this sense, I sum up this project in these two sentences, experimenting workshop of autobiographical memories, starting from the text, context, and exploration of urban territory. Another, and we move to the conclusion. The second living we are, of course, is the topic, the issue of intergenerational learning. There are in the past, the story of our project, there are two experiences we had in to address this crucial issue with a view to generate additional social benefits and the cultural exchanges between those who belong to different generation, unit, and cohort. The first was more structured experience, and it perhaps is coherent with many arguments, many topics we'll discuss today and tomorrow, particularly tomorrow with the presentation by Erika Boiler. Connecting adult and young people to bridge the technological communication gap or divide. We start with a simple, this is, we our colleague from Leipzig stressed 5 minutes ago this problem. When we move from the face-to-face aula to Zoom session, we try to facilitate people to enter the classroom on Zoom, but in any case, we lost at least 40% of the members of this association. In this sense, I found this experience. I would like to repeat now. We are repeating now. We are organizing intensive course to provide people simple access to manage smartphone, computer, email, and so on. How to say, exploiting the younger students of University of Padua, encourage to establish some formal agreement with also informatics department or other scientific department to offer a small amount of hours, of course, paid by the university. We have formally, how to say, useful rules to obtain this facilitation in order to organize courses for elderly people, for literacy in computer, email, smartphone, and so on. But the teacher could be or should be students of Padua University. In this sense, in order to create also from the practical relationship, an exchange of language. The second is very small experience, very small. We are in the library of Lyceum, public school in Padua, and we realized an agreement with this school in order to provide voluntary helping to keep the library open as long as possible, to have our member, sometimes former teachers at school, who are willing to provide counsel for organize a bibliography, a research, and so on. It's a small example to promote interaction, because our challenge is precisely to promote this activity to generate an active model of aging and solidarity between generations. So, in this sense, my idea is to think about civil services for young university students who dedicate a number of hours, small at will, of course, to follow training courses attended by adults, sharing with them moments of learning, co-training, and tutorial help in some cases. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much for this presentation, for the previous presentation. But from here, we have really a lot. Thank you for the references, Bourdieu and others. And we have a lot of food for thinking. And my colleague from Granada asked me to share some questions which we could a bit take into account in small rooms. We will now be invited to move in break rooms for a couple of minutes, for some time, and then come back to our main room. Clearly, if you have questions, comments or others, they also are extremely welcome. But if I understand well, I'm asked to share with you these three basically questions. I just insert something from Enzo, from Professor Pace, as a talk, which I thought is very, very focused. So we will now be invited to join some small rooms and discuss, taking into account these three questions, which I put now in the chat, but I would like to share with you. How could we enhance or facilitate long life learning, meant as seniors higher presence at the university and beyond? And with beyond, I mean out of the university, with this kind of intertwining experience, such as we heard from Progetto Formazione Continua, but also from Graz and also from Granada. Second question, which kinds of activities are most appreciated and visioned? But then I inserted, I don't know whether I did put too much food now, but which kind of form, which forms of activities? This idea of vertical or horizontal, because some students really, senior or younger, just want to go to a conference and listen to and have a passive position, but others might be more interested since the early beginning to have this experiential stream about which Enzo Pace was speaking. And again, what kind of intergenerational links? Now we had this very powerful suggestion of these credits, or even better, have you put it, and so this civil service. So clearly all around there is a big question, which I do not dare to put in written forms, and which in case we will discuss later, but I think which is very much there, and that is where are the economics? And this came out very clearly this morning, because all this project, all Arqus project has been rose by very little funds. There are funds for mobility, which we cannot use, but then there are more funds for what we are doing. So we are doing all this. What we are doing is very much on voluntary basis, on our minor skills, or whatever. But the economic aspect, I see, it's very, very important. But maybe we can leave it as a ghost, not putting it in written form. Now I ask the speakers, particularly Carmen, Blanca, Cristina, Diego, Enzo, if you want immediately to add something. Otherwise, so please, if you see that something can be added immediately. If not, yeah.
In my case, at least I think that questions are perfect. I want to leave the time for the discussion.
Also me. I agree with Mari Carmen, because I think the also a very interesting part is to listen to our participants, to what they think about this, no?
Okay, so are we going to the break rooms, or are we staying all together here?
No, we are going to break rooms.
Okay, how long? Okay.
Around 15 minutes. You know?
Okay. Wonderful. So I just interrupt here, and I put in the chat if I can. Yes, I put in the chat to all the questions. Okay, I hope you can see them. Yeah, okay. So thank you very much. So let's see in the break rooms. Hello, welcome again. Okay, so it was brief but very rich and lively. So we would like to have some a report of what has been discussed in the rooms. How would we like to begin? Okay, so let's begin from the beginning. So I was in room 1, and it was a nice mixture of people between Graz and UNIP2, the University of Padua. And I think that Anna can briefly summarize.
Yeah, yes, of course, I'd like to tell you something about our intense discussion. We were discuting mostly about Graz, Christine, Alberta, we from the Aging Center for Interdisciplinary Research on Aging and Care, and we were discussing about the heterogeneity of this older population group and how this should be reflected in the things we are doing for them and with them, and that it's really important to look at the variety of activities, about shared discussions, but look also at the socialization of the group of the older population, and that probably quite a lot of them are used to like a formation, like to a setting which is more those of a passive consummation. And so that it's really important to make steps with them into a more active participation. And that is also really important not to use only the locations at university, but also to go outside university, to go inside and outside university, and to use also the different geographical settings. I hope I didn't forget anything. And yes, and to translate, and that's a really important question, to translate knowledge, not only inside the question of university language, but also to translate it into different social groups, to different aging groups.
Okay, what about room 2? Who was in room 2? Probably Salvatore can help us in detecting who was in.
was with me in room 3.
Yes, yeah. I was in room 3. I don't know if Maria Carmen knows who was in room.
Okay, Maria Carmen also then could help us.
I don't know if Diego, Esther, Ronald, if you want it, you are the unique representative of the University of the Lake Pit. If you want to tell us what are you speaking about in the small group?
Yes, I can do. We have the same, let's say, the same outcome as Anna has said about the horizontal and vertical activities to be, let's say, more for the speech, or how we can transform let's say, the standard universal speech to also other or to groups like the seniors. It may be a little bit different from the experience of the participants and also of their knowledge, and how, let's say, the mind will also change in the years, and to make more workshops, hands-on and something like that, and to think about more than only about these front teaching as we have in the past, also for the senior students. The second part we have discussed was about the communication between younger students and the senior students, where, and this is also my experience, the communication is very low. Mainly online courses, it doesn't exist there in front classrooms, it exists, but on a very low level, let's say, just to hello and oh, how are you, and no more, let's say, communication between the different levels of agings. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry. What about the third room?
Yes, I will pass the word to Matilde, who is going to be our representative in this general room.
Okay. I've been talking about my experience as a senior student in APFA. Okay. So I highlighted a few things. For me, one of the things was the program. They were very comprehensive. You had the choice to have some optative subjects. Also, you have a couple, 3 or 4. They are compulsory. The program is, as I said, very comprehensive. What I like as well is not very expensive. You can do the work if you want to get the diploma, but also if you don't want to, you don't have to do it. It's very open on that. The assistance to class, to the lecturers, are compulsory, and I think that's right. And just to take the program seriously. The other thing I highlighted is the even if the classes, the lectures have been online, I felt the closeness between the students and the professors. They were very available for everything that we needed, and they were very patient because not everybody have the knowledge or the internet of IT knowledge that is required for all of this. As I said, there was a lot of information to read, to study. There was the visit, and there were some workshops where you can participate. They are not compulsory. You can participate. Sorry about this. And Blanca, if you wanted to say something else.
You did a perfect summary. I just would like to add a couple of more points that Francesca and Anna made during their interventions regarding that they think that the ideal mix will be both vertical and horizontal, as seniors can provide their own background to the learning classroom experience. This was suggested by Francesca, and Anna pointed out the idea, the importance of the biographical emotions in this kind of activities and forms that could be more appreciated and envisioned.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Had we a fourth? Yeah. A fourth room, because there is something, Blanca.
No, they were 3, no, Mari Carmen? 3.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so everybody. Okay, so now we can open the general discussion. Has everybody had the chance to say what they wanted to say, because we were a bit in a hurry, but in a nice way, in a nice and smooth way. So now it's time for a more open discussion.
I think all the conclusions has been very interesting and very enriching. Maybe I think at least for us the point where that we have to work more is the communication between young students and senior students. At least in Granada, we have reached a good level, a good program with the highest acceptation of our students, and they are happy with the offer. But maybe I missed this last step, this stronger communication with younger, to make more visible the capacities and what have to share our students, our senior students, to them, to the younger. I don't know if you have any suggestion about that.
Well, from my view, this is true. Coming to Padua, I think we also have to work a bit more at the university. Yes, again, at communication, but also at implementation. I don't know whether my colleagues from UniPD agree. So you in Granada have a lot of activity and you need to communicate them. We also we have a lot of activity which we could try to coordinate and bring together. I loved what I heard also, for instance, in our break room, when Anna and not only her, Teresa and others were saying, we think that place is important and different places should be used. So for instance, in Padua, we do a lot. As Enzo Pace was saying, Padua is a medium-sized university, sorry, a medium-sized town, a university town, and it's really rich of activities where there are very strong interconnection between university and town, and so which are naturally, inverted commas, prepared to involve or invite people of different generations. But these are disseminated, very much disseminated. So probably it could be interesting to try to make them more visible and to try to put them in a stronger link. But my concern now, being where we are now, here and at now, in an Arqus meeting, which is asking us, the 7 universities, to share our best practices and to add something, to improve them, to communicate as in the come nei vasi comunicanti, to share, to let one activity be adopted by the other. I'm really concerned on a bit concerned on how to proceed. So are you happy with where we are? I would say yes. But yes, because we learned already today and in this year and a half when we have been here, I would say, when we have meeting, begin to meet, we are beginning to know what's going on in our universities, mostly in Granada, in Graz, and in Padua. Something from Lipsia, and some less from Lyon, Vilnius, and Bergen. It's true that often the colleagues say, we are younger. We have younger universities, and we saw that in part it is true, but it is only in part true. So my concern is, okay, this issue, the generational issue, is probably more visible in these universities than in others. But my strong concern is how can we go on? What can we suggest our universities, our administrations, in order to widen and improve what we are doing? So I would relaunch Enzo's suggestion, Enzo Pace's suggestion. If it is true, and I'm afraid it is true, that we are really invited to do a lot without a budget, because this is the case, we probably could really try to include our activities either in our expected activities when we speak about the staff, recognized, or the same with students. So here there are some students, mostly graduated already, but I would like to have, for instance, their opinion about that. Or other ideas. How can we really surely improve communication on what we do, but also improve what we do, extend what we do, move more towards these aims that we said, basically at cost zero. It's a challenge.
Mm.
First of all, it might not be such a challenge if you in Granada and you in Graz provide us with clear evidence that you have some funds, because we could ask for funds, saying, well, we are in the same project, we are, how to say, exchanging best practices, and so let's exchange also these practices. I don't want to be mean, I don't want to undermine our project, but I think that there are also some structural problems there.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I don't know exactly where other universities do, but what I perceive here, and I didn't participate in all the activities for obvious reasons. But one of the things I perceive is that there were some cultural visits. There were some senior students that was graduate in art or something, and they took all the students, and they could do it as well with younger students. And we visited places in Granada. They are very well known. These visits for the senior student, share that experience and knowledge with the older student was very, very positive. The cost, there was very little, whatever you could do, €5, something like that. The other thing is, for example, for me, they have been in other parts of Europe for many years, and it helped me to connect again with my own city, and that experience helped as well. Other thing that I noticed is the same professors go one step further to provide this cultural visit with the student, with the senior student, and this is out of their own pockets or their own time. And I said, this is really, really a big commitment for to raise the levels and knowledge of the senior student, and to have that sort of vertical level. I mean, there was just, I cannot remember all the names of the professor, but I can say there was more than 5 and 6 professors who did that. And it was activity part of the subject as well, but just to have that contact with the nature, with the history of Granada, or talking about Alhambra, no? You say Alhambra, I don't know how you say, but as well, you know, all of that, I don't think they are paid by the university or by the Andalusian government. I think that they do because they wanted just to share and to have that connection, vertical connection and communication with people, with the students. I mean, other thing they appreciated, many of the professors are retired, or they are the knowledge that they have and the way that they share and communicating is you cannot pay it with money, I'm afraid.
No, you're right.
That's my opinion.
You're perfectly right. And also when Enzo was speaking about this experience at Cornaro, he was speaking about this experience at this high school, this Lyceum. And it is very well known in Padua because it is really, as you say, a bunch of previous teachers who are very much linked with the place and volunteering. I agree with you. Nothing will substitute this kind of flow at the beginning. But this, I think, is important to begin. things. It is the number 0. But then to have number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, I think something is needed, and some infrastructure is also needed.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's marvelous to have had Enzo Scortegagna starting. It's marvelous to have Enzo Pace promoting now the project. But I think that if you really want to have a structural presence, you also need to play bigger. Am I wrong? What do you think, Enzo, for instance, or other people?
No, perhaps is the time is mature to propose an infrastructure more organic to official activity of in other words, to come back a little bit, to come back at the origin of the project, to reincorporate this project within the university and to exploit the various chances we have to involve younger students in this activity, including some younger PhD or younger, to say, precarious researchers and so on. We have this human resources to invest in this social capital we have accumulated in the past, and then we could start to write a new page of history of this experience. I agree with you.
Thank you.
May I just add some little thoughts? I think there's one question about the structures from Arqus, and this is I'm not able to speak about. I just like to share with you two thoughts. One is my most beautiful experience in intergenerational work was with a senior PhD in philosophy. We were working in a health literacy project funded by an Austrian association for all the people in the rural area in Austria. And it was so wonderful to work together on a really scientific level and to work together for all the migrants, for all the people. Sorry, it was for all the people. The second project we're thinking about is to making some using this living labs methods to work together. But we're also trying all the time to already develop it together in intergenerational contexts because it changes so much. And this is one thing we try to be funded always by other associations, we and also the senior researchers. And the third thought is we are thinking about at the moment about this, quite a lot of professors are going to be retired next time. And so they are telling us that we see that they have so many talents and that the university has to develop into the direction of a caring university, which cares for the younger researcher as well as for those who are going to retirement, and to use these different experiences, these different knowledges, and these different life course phases, I think. And this is not only an ideal, really well romantic idea, but I think this is an idea which has to be implemented in structural facts.
Well, I love it very much, and I love that you are proposing it. Because I think that this has to be proposed by younger students. You are a PhD student, and can you write in the chat the name of the two experiences you are mentioning, the intergenerational experiences where you were? Because I'm not sure I got it right, but I don't want to annoy other people. Just to have a clearer idea of which kind of events or experiences they were. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I have to go.
Okay.
I have to go. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
And just to say that it has been very, very interesting. I really enjoy this. Okay. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you very much, Matilde. Yeah. Okay. some other idea, comment? Can I invite Matteo to tell us what he got from this morning? He's a student, he's a master level student working for his thesis on topics which have something to do with this. So if you have something to share with us, we are happy. If not, we understand, but we are pretty sure that we have something to say.
Yeah, I don't have something to say, but I really enjoy what you told before.
Okay, okay, thank you very much. Maria del Carmen.
Then, okay, we have passed 15 minutes of the time, but it has been very. They has been very interesting minutes of discussion, very interesting. So thank you very much. I hope you all have enjoyed. I have done a lot. I have a lot of ideas from the discussion, very useful. And let's see tomorrow if we have more ideas about culture and how culture can contribute to inclusion of senior students. So thank you very much and see you tomorrow.